To the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections for November the 9th. Well, a nice week again last week. The selections went 4-1. The quick hitters went 4-1 for an 8-2 week for the tour. The selections on a nice 7-3 run over the last 2 weeks for the tour. And keep in mind, last November the tour was hot. Well, if you take November's record, the last 2 years for the tour, we're talking 17-8. And the quick hitters on a 7-2 run the last 2 weeks. All right, so the tour on fire. Let's get you some more winners here. I got 4 selections. I got 5 quick hitters for you. And we're going to start off with my Conference YPG Play of the Week. Now, this was a winner last week. Remember, we had UTSA actually had better Conference YPG than Memphis did. They were a huge home dog, and they won. Well, let's go with the huge home dog again. Let's take a look at Fresno State against Air Force as your Conference YPG game of the week. Now, keep in mind, all these things I show you go with the schedule. Let me go back to that again. The schedule, and there we go. All right, so the schedule is on philsteele.com. It's called the Schedule Predictor. When you go to if you have Phil Steele Plus access, you have access to the team pages, college ATS logs. By the way, college ATS logs, just to show you real quick, you get complete logs updated for the season. You get FCS logs updated for the season. And for those of you that, I know I haven't put anything out NFL-wise. I don't really watch NFL, guys. I'm college football. But here's NFL logs updated throughout the season. We do have NFL information here, by the way, as well. If you take a look at the NFL team pages, click on any team. The Browns, I think, are having a bad year this year. Look at that, a lot of red. You click on here, you get their opponent's matchup for the week. Well, that was last week's. So the Blues are opponent matchups. You can get back these records. You got if you're a fantasy football guy, just click on individual player stats. You see how they did this year. You want to know how they did last year against the opponents? It's up there, right there. We've got individual player stats all the way through it. You get box scores on every single game. You get half times on the games. You get the last 10 years over-under records for the NFL. All that's available. If you're an NFL fan, I bring it up because I always slight the NFL. I just follow college football, but I got all this NFL stuff on my site. I got all this FCS stuff on my site. More on the FCS when we get to Chris's games. I believe Chris had a winning week last week at 3-2 again for these Saturday games. The FCS will be up on Saturday. But let's get back to this matchup. So, as mentioned, I want to go here for 1 second to the Phil Steele Plus menu, show you the Schedule Predictor. And this, click right here, and it gets you to the Schedule Predictor, which is what I'm showing you here. This has the records. Last week was 7-6. The last 2 weeks is now 14-8 for the best bets. As you see here, the current average game grade went 6-1 last week. My preseason lines went 5-1. The revenge plays, my goodness, guys. But out here, I added this Conference YPG column 2 weeks ago. I keep adding to this. Technical column got added about 3 weeks ago. But look at this. It went 6-1 last week. You won with UTSA. It is 13-4 since I added it. Now, 4 of the plays are actually here. And it is something to everybody plays different non-conference schedules. But where you get your value is by looking at how the teams do in conference play versus how the other teams do in conference play. And it worked with UTSA last week. Well, if we look here, Fresno's got the big winning record on the year. They're 5-4, and Air Force is feeble. They are 1-9. But look at this. Take a look at the conference line. Fresno is minus 75 yards per game in conference play. Air Force is minus 44. Now, it's here as a best bet. Minus 44 is not great, but it's better than 75. I'd say about 2 points better. Plus, they're at home. So the Conference YPG would say Air Force by 5, and they are a 10.5-point home dog. Now, what this means out here, I show you Air Force, I show you the minus 44, then I show you their opponents. That's what the two numbers mean out here. Here, this means, we'll get to that when I show you the app one. Air Force also, the last 4 weeks, AGG. Air Force is plus 4.8, and they're getting 10.5. Here is your last 4 weeks. This is a really good indicator as well. This shows you, it takes the average game grade just for the last 4 weeks. I use this line. This is when this becomes hot. Last year, on the Schedule Predictor, This last 4 weeks AGG down the stretch was outstanding because it ignores everything that happened early. It only talks about how they're playing recently. And if you do that, Air Force is playing at an 85.6 level, add in the 3-point home edge, 88. They're at a 94.7. Actually, they get a 4-point home edge. And by the way, it's going to be 45 degrees, maybe 40 degrees at game time, dropping into the 30s. They're taking on a team from California. My preseason line on the game, that, by the way, amplifies the home field edge, as does the altitude. My preseason line on the game, let's take a look at that in the schedule. I had Air Force -6 prior to the year. Now, naturally, I wouldn't have Air Force -6 now, but you've got 3 best bets. If it's in green, that means it's a best bet here on the schedule. And I only highlight the games I'm talking about. All the games are up there. All the best bets are up there in all the categories. You make the decisions. All the work's done for you, though. This comes up in Air Force as a 3 play, 14-8 over the last 2 weeks for these plays here. I highlight the 3 and higher plays as green best bets. So this is a big play. It is Air Force plus 10.5 over Fresno. I think they got a great shot at winning it. And we got a lot of good factors going for us. The last 4 weeks, the conference YPG, these are things that are red hot on the schedule predictor. All right, let's get to the next one. It's got to be one of your favorites, guys. It's the revenge game of the week. Now, the revenge game of the week, I've given you 8 of them here on the tour. They're 7-1. 7-1, guys. So let's take a look at this week's revenge game of the week. Now, for those that are really sharp, you saw it already, but I'm going to show it to you here again. And once again, we're going to go back to that schedule predictor. How do the revenge plays do? Now, you might say, Phil, how do you pick out 7-1? Well, it's pretty easy. Look at the record for the revenge plays. 4-2 last week, 28-13 on the season, 76-33 over 2 years. So I basically take a look at maybe 6 plays. You know 5 of them are going to win. I just have to pick the one of them that isn't the one that loses. And it's pretty easy picking these plays out for the tour. So 7-1. Now, App State is actually an early game. It goes tonight. So it may be over by the time you're watching this. We'll see how it does. But we won with the revenge game on App State last week. Last week they were playing Old Dominion, and they won the game 28-20 outright as a dog. I believe they were home dog in that one. So that was a nice winner for us on App State. Now they're playing Coastal Carolina on the road. You take a look at last year, App State, you flip to your magazine, it shows you, but this gives you all their spread records since 1976. And if we take a look at App State last year, they played Coastal Carolina at home. They were -5. They lost the game 27-24. Now they have a chance at getting revenge. We've seen how the revenge plays do. That should be enough right there. But there's more. Take a look at the last 4 weeks. The last 4 weeks, App State's been on fire. This is a team the arrows pointed up. I thought they played a good game here against Louisiana, a really good Louisiana team on the road. They outgained them. Then they beat Georgia State and beat Old Dominion. So their arrow is pointed up. Last 4 weeks are playing at a 97.4 level. Love the last 4 weeks indicator. Coastal Carolina started out the season good. Look at that green up here. But the last 4 weeks says, forget about that. We're only caring about the last 4 weeks. And they played that same Louisiana team. They lost to them by 10 as well. And they are playing at an 86.1 level. So they're 86.1. They're 97.4. You add the 3 points here. That's 89.1. So that's 8.3 for App State. Now, they opened the week as a dog. So a lot of times teams don't follow line moves, okay? They know where they were. If they were the underdog, they were the favorite at the start of the week. And App State was the dog. So I will point this out. Even though it's not relevant anymore, it still is relevant in my mind because, once again, teams do not follow spread moves. So if you're a dog at the start of the week, they assume they're the dog the whole week. And if you look at how App State does as a dog, a conference away dog, 6-4 as a conference dog, they have an outstanding record. In fact, I've got a record written down here. Let me see if I got this. App State as a dog is 15-9-2 as an away dog overall. So take a look at them here. 13-7-2. They're 2-2 this year. 15-9-2 as an away dog. Look at Coastal Carolina as a conference home favorite. 0-1, 0-3, 1-3, 2-1, 0-2, 0-1. They were 3-12. They are currently 4-14 as a conference home favorite. Now, you don't have to use those angles. I already gave you the last 4 weeks. I already gave you a revenge, but I got one more. And it's the one that we talked about. These conference YPGs are dynamite. So ignore everything that happened prior to it. And remember, they got blown out by Clemson, so that might have hurt their yards per game. But here, in conference play, they are minus 9 yards per game, or plus 7 yards per game. Coastal is minus 125. Yes, that makes that a play. If you take a look at the schedule indicator here, you've got App State plus 7, Coastal minus 125. You got the away dog home favorite. You got the minus 8.3. You got the revenge. My plus minus power ratings have them by 4. And that's App is a 5.5 play on the best bet. So it's a big play here on App State minus 1 over Coastal Carolina. All right, let's get to your third one. And this I'm going to bring a total in here this week. And it is strengths versus weaknesses. And we're going to take a look at Army against North Texas. And we're going to put, actually, Army's the visitor, and North Texas is the home team. So we're going to put Army over here on the left and North Texas on the right. Now, for this one, I'm calling it the strength versus weaknesses play for a total. Look at Army's rush offense. We know that. Army runs the football. Now, Bryson Daly did miss last week. He could return this week, but if he doesn't return, they can usually interchange quarterbacks pretty good. I would assume that the backup quarterback who got the start last week against Air Force will play better. And keep in mind, Air Force knows how to defense the option. I'd use that as the underplay last week. Remember, that was here on the tour. It was the Service Academy underplay. And why do I use that? Because teams that don't face the option, it's a tough time to prepare for. You can't run your scout teams at the same level. But Service Academies run the scout teams at the same level, face the option every day, and do well against it. And we saw that again last week, where Air Force slowed them down, and of course they slowed down Air Force. But now they're back to playing this. Look at all the red over here on the rush defense for North Texas. They are giving up, over the last 4 weeks, 225 yards per game, 5.4 yards per carry. So you've got strength against weakness. So the other thing I want to show you here, so I think Army's going to score some points, many more points than they scored last week, back to scoring the 45, 44, 49, 42 that they did when they weren't playing Service Academy teams. Now, on the flip side, North Texas has a pretty potent pass offense. Look at this, 372 yards per game. They don't allow a lot of sacks, highly efficient at 64%. Chandler Morris has a 26-8 ratio. Take a look who Army's played. They played an FCS school. They played FAU. Now, if you take a look at the pass offenses that Army has faced this year, they have basically taken on 2 solid pass offenses. They took on UAB, which is number 35, and East Carolina, which is number 33. And the thing about those 2 games, if you go back to the UAB game, let's take a look at that real quick. Go to the American Conference and get UAB, and go to their individual player stats. We see that when they played Army, they had a quarterback making his second start. They had their starter here, but then their quarterback was making just his second start. So it's not like they had their full-time starter at full strength. And once again, they're just number 33 in the pass defense rankings, or 35. Now pass offense. Sorry about that. East Carolina. Now, when East Carolina played Army, and you could be looking all this stuff up yourself. You got a game you're interested in, look it up yourself. All this information, the YPG, the last 4 weeks, the individual player stats, it's all up there. The green, the red, it's all up there. But once again, let's take a look at East Carolina. When they played Army, they had benched their starting quarterback, and Caden Hauser was making just his second start. In fact, in his first start, he had 11 to 28. That wasn't even a start. This was his first start. He came off the bench against them. So they took on 2 backups coming off the bench as their 2 toughest offenses they faced, passing offenses. Temple, weak. Rice, weak. Air Force doesn't throw the ball. So now they're taking on, and we've got to get the team back up here, North Texas, which has a great pass offense, one of the best pass offenses in the country. And that's a weakness for Army. Now, why is it a weakness for Army? Well, once again, going back to my Service Academy thing, they play great when they're playing Service Academies, but how do they simulate a great passing offense when they don't have any great passing quarterbacks in the practice? And does this matter? Well, let's take a look at this. When you go to the last 4 years' results, come down here. This gives you the records since 1989, gives you all the stats since 1989. This is what I want to hone in on here. How do they do in pass efficiency? 85, 97, 83, 77, 77, 87, 107. Their best year was 49. Other than that, well, their best year was 49 ever. Why? Because they don't simulate the pass offense in practice. So they have trouble matching up against the pass. North Texas has trouble matching up against the run. I like that. And then it brings me back to one of my favorite totals games. Go back to 2021, and we're going to find that here. 2021, Army played Wake Forest. Similar situation. Every time Wake had the ball, they threw the ball down the field and scored touchdowns, 458 yards passing. Every time Army had the ball, they ran the ball for 416 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, 70 to 56. I actually used that one on inside the press box. That was one of my favorite totals plays, 126 points. So we have that same type of matchup this week. Army against North Texas. Strong run, weak rush defense. Strong pass, weak pass defense. And once again, here on the when you come here, oops, wrong one. That's Army. We're going to go back to the Phil Steele Plus menu, and when I do that, you can take a look at this year's pass efficiency defense. Where does Army rank this year? And pass efficiency defense, by the way, mine is not like the NCAA. I include the opponent. So if you played a bunch of weak opponents like Army has, you don't rank as high. Now, maybe they're up there pass efficiency-wise in the NCAA stats. They've only allowed a 9-12 ratio, but they haven't taken on any quarterbacks. This is the best quarterback they've taken on all year. Look at this, an 11.48 for strength of opponent. They're only number 55 in my ratings. So the play here is over in Army and North Texas. All right, let's get to your fourth and final play, and we're going to take a look at the Notre Dame and, oops, wrong one. Notre Dame and Florida State. We're going to put Florida State on the left, and we are going to put Notre Dame on the right. And let's see what we got here. This one is called my situational play of the week. You have Notre Dame is off a bye. Florida State, meanwhile, is playing a fourth straight game. Now, this is a Florida State that has a lot of mercenaries on it, a lot of hired pay-for-play guys that came in transferred. They came in expecting last year. Look what happened last year. Undefeated during the regular season and even won the ACC title game. This year, they've got one win. And so what do you got to play for right now? And you're playing a fourth straight week. And you're playing on the road. And you're a team from Florida, and it's probably chillier up there at Notre Dame. You take a look at Florida State. They are 1-8, 2-7. It's their third road game in 4 weeks. I mentioned situational play. Let's see if I put it on there as such. Here it is. It's situation. Situation plays were 5-5 last week. They are 47-30 on the year, 105-74 over 2 years. Now that's not a 70% record, but enough. So if you got, and how this works, you see how this is a -1 here? That actually says the situation favors the visitor a little. The plus favors the home team. And if it's 1.5 or more, then I give it a best bet. So the best bet's just 5-5 last week, but 47-30 on the year. I think last week they went 7-1 2 weeks ago. So it's a situational play here for Notre Dame. And then you factor in the other things. Oh, by the way, it's also a power rating play. Let's see what that is about. My power ratings say Notre Dame by 33.8, so you got to like that. This also shows you Notre Dame is plus 124. Florida State's minus 130. That's interesting. You know, I want to see one thing. I didn't look this up, but if you go here to the last 4 weeks, I want to see if we go to the offense versus defense. Where's Notre Dame? How far down are they? Okay, Notre Dame's the number 14 team in the country. Their offense is 48 above opponent's average. The old defense is 114 below. Where's Florida State on this? Here's Florida State way down here, number 104, minus 90 on offense. So this means, this column over here means that they average 90 yards less than what their opponent normally allows. Look at last week. North Carolina came into that game allowing 386 yards. They got 201, 185 below North Carolina's average. And look at all the red over here. Look at all the green over here. This could be a red-green matchup. I like that. Now, yes, Notre Dame's laying 26, but you know what else I like here? Besides all the stuff I just showed you, the fact that Notre Dame against the ACC, 16-2 against the spread. So your fourth and final selection for this week is Notre Dame. minus 25.5 against Florida State. All right, let's get to your quick hitters. 7-2 the last 2 weeks. Let's get these rolling. We're going to start out with a rivalry dog, and we're going to put Utah. Damn, got to keep that keeps popping up here. We're going to put Utah against BYU. Couple interesting things to show you in this one, and let's put Utah on the right. Now Utah's having a horrible season, right? I picked one of these teams at the top of the Big 12 to go undefeated possibly on the year. I picked the other one at the bottom. Guess what? I got the teams wrong. BYU's at the top, could go undefeated. Utah's at the bottom. But the reason everybody's so down on Utah, they were favored against Arizona. They were favored in all their first 8 games. Favored against Arizona and lost. Favored against Arizona State and lost. Favored against TCU and lost. Favored against Houston and lost. Some of the games could have gone either way, but they lost. But look at this. Despite their horrible record in the Big 12, they're 2-4. They are plus 24 yards per game. Now, BYU's undefeated, so they're going to have a great yards per game, right? How about plus 3 in conference play? They actually have the better conference YPG, 24-3. And let's see what else we got looking here on the schedule indicator. We got that going for us. We got the series dog. Okay, so now let's take a look at that. When you click here, this lets you know the series dog in the game. So this column indicates wins and losses. If it's green, that means a team won the game. As you can see, Utah's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Utah is 9-1 the last 10. They've been favored in a lot of these games. But here when they were a dog, 1, 2, 3 wins. Favorite loss, favorite loss, favorite lost, favorite one here, favorite loss there. So the favorites only got 2 wins in the series. Two ATS wins in the series. The dog is actually 8-3 ATS the last 11 in the series. So the dog does well. Utah does well. In fact, Utah's 10-2 straight up, 8-4 ATS. And it is the first time they are an underdog all season long. So Utah's off a bye. First time they're an underdog. You know you like rivalry dogs to begin with. Utah's getting over 4 points at home. We're going to use a quick hitter on Utah plus 4 over BYU. All right, let's go to the press box game. And by the way, if you like what you see here on the tour, oops, not that one. Close that one out for a minute. If you like what you see here on the tour, you get the tour special. I will offer it again. The regular, you have all access to this for NFL, for FCS, for FBS. Team pages for everybody, all this information for everybody. $79 right now if you go to philsteele.com. And I'll show you there. You just go to the store right here at philsteele.com. And when you go to the store, here's the single edition of Press Box. Here is the season of Press Box. Here is Phil Steele Plus, $79. But it's not yours. Type in Expert Wins. You get Phil Steele Plus, $69 for the rest of the year. $69. Access to all this through the Super Bowl. But the one thing I want to point out here when we come to this one is let's first of all get the game up there, and that is going to be there it is. This is going to be Virginia and Pitt as a quick hitter. This is the information you get on every single game. There's actually more information on the page, but I can't show you all the information on the page. So you take a look here. You've got Pittsburgh. The computer has a forecast of 127 yards rushed to 63, 296, 252, 423, 315 yard edge. Look at this. Computer has Pitt 35-21. Here's my complete write-up on the game. Here's the angle or the numbers on the game, which you have access to on Phil Steele Plus as well. And if you're a Pressbox member, you of course get Phil Steele Plus included if you're a seasoned subscriber. But let's take a look how the computer's doing. And guess what, guys? Right now, the computer has a massive lead. You know, I was doing well. I had won weeks 1, 3, 4, 5, and 8. The computer has won 2, 6, 7, 9, 10. I am 26-22 on the year. Good season, winning money. Not a great season. It's been a rough couple of weeks for my best bets. Computer continues to roll on. 27-18 on the year. And that's, I'm not even including the 4-2 that it went on the games I wouldn't allow it to use. The computer's 31-20 if you use those. But over the last 19 weeks, the computer is 43-26. And just using October through November. Last year was red hot. Last week it won again. 21-9. from the last week of October through the conference title game for the computer, 70%. It is on fire. Combined best bets for inside the press box, 53, 40, and 1. If you just want a sample issue, if you just want this week, I'll give you $5 off. Use the code word BATTLE24. You get this week 46 games broken down like I just showed you here. 46 games for just $15. You use the code BATTLE24. That's your special. I'm trying to catch up to the computer, but you know what? The computer is so damn hot this time of year. I got a feeling that the computer is going to be 70% the rest of the way, and I would have to hit 100% the rest of the way. We know that's basically impossible. I'm not conceding yet, but you know my computer is really hot right now. It's going to have a great finish to the season. But in this game, I had to point it out because my computer is really high on it. This is not a computer best bet this week, but it is one my computer liked a lot. 35-21. It likes Pitt over Virginia, and that's your quick hitter there. And by the way, if you want to get a press box for the rest of the year, I'm still going to give you guys that 25% off. Here's the thing. Press box, if you bought single issues, the price is $100, and the price is $99. So you're not saving anything, right? Well, the difference is you get Phil Steele Plus through the Super Bowl. So that is a great deal here. $99, you get the final 5 issues of Pressbox College through the conference championship games. Plus, you get access to Phil Steele Plus through the Super Bowl. That makes that a tremendous deal. But you get 25% off those prices over here. $74, $89, $66, $149. Take a picture of that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's for you because you take the tour. I give you guys 25% off. I love you guys that take the tour with me. All right, now let's get back to some selections. I got 3 more quick hitters for you. This is my strength of schedule play, and it is Georgia right here. The strength of schedule plays 5-5 last week, but 43-31 on the year. That's good. 76-49. As you see here, Georgia's strength of schedule, 57 better than what you've got there. And once again, if we go over here and we just click back one, you can click on the strength of schedule plays here, and this shows you the strength of schedule. We see Georgia's number 8. And so that means Ole Miss is way down here at 65. Or, well, that's the place to check strength of schedule right there. Or check it on the schedule predictor. I do the work for you and have it there. So you've got Georgia and Ole Miss. Remember last week we went against Georgia? And let's face it, guys, Florida might have won that game had their quarterback, DJ Lagway, not got injured. I think Florida could have won it. But what did I say last week? I said Georgia doesn't get up for these games as a big favorite. However, let's look for when they are up. They were a favorite against Alabama, but they go into the locker room. They're down 30-7. They just kicked Alabama's ass in the second half, almost came back. They took the lead in that game and almost won it. The Clemson game, big game. They won 31-3. Look at the Texas game. They're an underdog. The 23 at the half, 170-38. Now a lot of people, and I'm not sure why the Florida-Georgia score is not updated here. Those will get updated probably by the time you look at this. But when you go back to the Texas game, they dominated. Now, Kirby Smart will have his team convinced they are the underdog against Ole Miss here. I think we see Georgia's A game. They've got the schedule strength. That's my quick hitter. I'm not going to give you a lot of info on there, but I am going to say schedule strength play Georgia. We went against Georgia last week. We go against Georgia's big favorites, but we don't go against Georgia when they're challenged, and they are challenged. Oh, the other thing to point out there, let's click on the Mississippi, is Georgia. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 1 straight up in the series. Last year they won the game 52-17. So this is a Georgia team that can dominate. 304 yards at the half in last year's game. Well, let's go to my home away game. And this one's unique. Remember I showed you Utah as an underdog for the first time all year? Well, how about this one? We're going to put UAB on the right and Connecticut on the left. Now, Connecticut's been playing great. I love Jim Mora. Love the job they're doing. Love the way they play football at home. And I thought this was a mistake. I thought, Todd, you're missing an ad here. You know, it's like, how would a team possibly be at home since September the 14th? It's November the 9th. 2 months they've been at home. And now they got to go on the road. Okay, not just that, but let's look at how Connecticut does home and away. We got the last 10 years straight up in ATS records here. Right there, you have complete access to them. Connecticut on the road, 7-43 over 10 years. All right, how they do this year, though? They've got a good team. They just qualified for a bowl. Well, they've only had 2 road games. Oh, they lost them both. They lost to Maryland. They lost to Duke. So that 7-43 record becomes 7-45. Now let's look at UAB. They played much better at home. They beat Alcorn State at home. They did lose to Navy. They did lose to Tulane badly, and they beat Tulsa. So they're 2-2 this year. But if you go back and look at them, since they came back and returned, you look at their home games right here, 33-6. So add in this year's 2-2, they are 35-8 at home. So you have a really good home team against a really poor road team. You're getting 6.5 points, and UConn has not been on the road since September the 14th. We're going to take UAB plus 6.5. And finally, a value play. You got Liberty playing Middle Tennessee this week. Liberty's off. They've been a huge favorite all year. If you go back and take a look at their games, probably in the 20s most of the year. But if you go back and take a look at their spread records, you can do that by looking here and then going to the other one. I'm not going to waste your time looking it all up. You have access to Phil Steele Plus. Go ahead and do it. You will find, if you're looking at the spread records, even look at your magazine for the last 5 years, that the last 10 times Liberty has been favored by 14 or less, they are 9-1 against the spread. Mason for Middle Tennessee State, look at his coaching box. You see he's 11-16 as a home dog. That includes this year. So I like the fact that Liberty is a small favorite here. They're only 11. Had this game been played when they were undefeated, remember last year they were undefeated all year, and if it had been played about here, they probably would have been a 17-21 point favorite in this game. But off 2 losses, everybody's throwing Liberty in the trash can. And then finally, take a look here. When they played Jacksonville State, let's go take a look at Jacksonville State. I could show you right here. And once again, these are available. When you click on box, you get the complete box score for every game. And I'll just show you this real quick because I go through the play-by-play of every game. Right here, it takes you through every drive. You see how the game was played. And I love that. It gives you a complete insight of the game. I do that. I watch the games on TV, but then I go back and go through every single game's play-by-play. When you do that and take a look at the Jacksonville State game, as we were just looking at, you could see that they played a mobile quarterback a couple weeks ago in Jacksonville State. And Huff here ran for 151 net yards on him. Now we take a look here, and the thing I was wondering about Liberty was the fact that Caden Salder was a 1,000-yard rusher last year and hasn't really been running the ball this year. But take a look at the individual stats, and we see that Caden Salter starting to run the ball more. He ran the ball 17 times last week. I expect him to take advantage of the Middle Tennessee defense that had trouble stopping a mobile quarterback 2 weeks ago. Caden Salter is one of the more impressive running quarterbacks, and if they unleash him completely, then I think you're going to see Liberty, off 2 losses, come out with a big win here. We're going to take Liberty minus 11 over Middle Tennessee State. It's November. The Tour's 17-8 the last 2 years in November. Let's hope we have a big winning week. Don't miss out on Pressbox. The computer is on fire. I'm going to try to catch up to the computer. I still have 4 weeks to get there. And so if you want to get that single issue, make sure you get it. Don't forget to check out FCS. We'll be up Saturday morning, first thing Saturday morning for you. And I want to thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections for this week.